on, Bears fans? Another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Pat the designer, Courtney Cronin in the building. What day is this?
Friday.
Not day of the week.
Number 13.
Is this 13 or 14?
13.
This is 13?
In the books.
Okay, all right. Practice number
1.
Joint practice number 1. We've got one more joint practice coming up. Bears took on the Miami Dolphins today in joint practice. And I'm not going to lie to you, Courtney. You can edit this out if you need to, EO. I saw Mike McDaniels and Ben Johnson talking on the field, and I was like, that's 100% a Coke dealer talking with his plug. Like, there's no way you can think of anything else when you see this. Mike McDaniels, the outfit choice, he's elite, he's hilarious, and he's one of my favorite people in the league.
He's got glasses that kind of look like yours.
A little bit.
The gold rims
Mike, you know what it is, baby.
You shop at the same place. But how about Mike McDaniel getting in the middle of that scrum and pulling players away? And an injured Tyreek Hill with one arm trying
crazy.
to scoop a dude off
that was
somebody
insane.
Else. There was a lot today. It was hot.
It was a hot day.
It's cold in the building right now. That's why I have a sweatshirt on. But it was really the hottest practice I think that we've had so far of training camp, and they got some good work done.
Yep.
It was hard to get any sort of rhythm or feel any sort of rhythm for the offense, just because there were so many flags on both sides.
Yes.
And it was, I don't know, just the way I guess the officials were calling practice today. But this is where they said they wanted to get the majority of their work done. It was starters not playing on Sunday in that preseason game.
Yeah, and make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. That's where I want to start with this, Courtney, because to me, we hear the news coming out. The cat was out of the bag, per Ben Johnson, right? That the starters, 9 starters on offense, 9 starters on defense, probably won't play in the Sunday's preseason game. So instantly you go, okay, well, that means today needs to look really good to feel good about them not starting. I would assume you're probably talking about most of the offensive line outside of left tackle. No Caleb, probably most of the running backs won't go, most of the receivers won't go, yada, yada. That offense today didn't look like an offense that shouldn't be getting reps in preseason 1 to me. It didn't look bad. I'm not going to say that it was a bad day. I thought that Caleb had some really nice passes to Olamide Zaccheaus. A lot of nice passes, actually. Him and OZ really locked in today. I thought that he had a nice pass to Rome. Of course, we saw Colston Loveland get involved there. But there were so many pre-snap penalties. There were so many flags thrown today. There was so much procedural issues that Ben Johnson has talked about the details on. It is very surprising to hear that this offense is not at least going to get a couple of series here in the first team. When we saw last night, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase basically went a half of the first quarter pretty much.
And I don't think they had a joint practice with the Eagles.
I don't believe so, no.
So I know
that was their reps. That's the difference. You're correct.
That does factor in here, that the Bears knew they were going to have a 2-hour and 15-minute practice on a hot day where they were going to get their starters the majority of the work. You really didn't see much from the 2s or really anything at all from the 3s. I mean, it was more Case Keenum behind Caleb Williams today and a little bit of Tyson Bagent mixed in here and there. But I think it was Sylvie who asked, why not do both? And, I don't really know if there's any legitimate justification other than protecting for injury and fatigue and not trying to overwork your guys before they have another joint practice the following week of doing that. And plus, just the way they break up their schedule, Monday is a 3:00 practice.
Yeah.
The starters will have a heavy workload that day. I look at this and say, okay, if you don't want to play Caleb Williams in the starters or, 9 starters on offense, 9 on defense, if you don't want to do it in preseason 1, that's fine. You have to do it in preseason 2 against Buffalo. And that's not just 1 quarter. I think it's a majority of the first half because you have to it's more than just being able to stop and then, pick back up where things, went wrong. If there was a flag, if there was, something that happened prior to the snap, if there was a drop, whatever, you're not just doing situational stuff anymore. You're in a game. It's the rhythm of the game. I think this offense is going to have to get used to that you don't get used to in practice. You can simulate stuff. You can have, an 18-minute move the ball period, or, what was an 18-minute for both the first and second team units for both Miami and the Chicago Bears, the red zone stuff.
Yep.
That's cool. You can do all that stuff, but I would think you'd want to actually rep what does a quarter of football feel like when we're going to and from the sideline, when Caleb's getting the call in his headset, when something goes wrong. What if there is sudden change? How are you going to react to a fumble? How are you going to react to, getting back on the field if things go poorly? That's stuff you just can't replicate in practice. So I'm cool with it now. I would be a little bit more concerned if next week it's the same story. However, Ben Johnson did say that he suspected starters will play in the preseason at some point. I think nobody should be immune to it because it's rhythm.
Yeah.
And like you brought up the Bengals, I've got to give them some credit for doing it because this is a team that has one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL, the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, another high paid wide receiver. And they still went out there yesterday and they played was it most of the first quarter?
Most of the first quarter, yeah.
A couple series. Like, because they had started out so poorly in the beginning of the year, the last 3 seasons, they're like, well, we need to do something differently. Maybe we should play in the preseason because those reps matter.
Yeah.
And I think that the Bears are not at all in a spot to say, well, we don't need those reps because we got them in the preseason joint practice that we had before the preseason game.
And what I love about it was it didn't matter what the other team did. Philly wasn't playing their starters. They just won the Super Bowl. Why would they play their starters?
Exactly.
The Bengals said, we're doing this because we need it for us to be successful. And that's really the mindset that I feel like this team may need for, preseason and things like that. Now, we are going to see, the left tackle composition. Ben Johnson told us that that's going to be out there for preseason, so we can at least expect that. But I thought there was a play today that just screamed, this team needs to continue with procedural improvements here. And it was the Miami Dolphins shifted the line to the right, the defensive line, and Caleb was trying to figure out, okay, what kind of shift do we need? He calls the shift. The safety, maybe it was Minka. I don't know who it was, but you just heard him go, he doesn't know what he's looking at. And immediately on the shift that Caleb called, the running back and Darnell Wright go block the defensive end. There's an unmanned rusher coming straight in your face. Like, those are the moments where, not to say that I think that Caleb is struggling day in and day out here, but it's very different when live bullets are coming at you on how you duck, how you move, how you get out of the way. I would have loved to see that this Sunday. But like you said, we still have a ton of opportunity. There's 2 preseason games left. I would think the Buffalo one versus a little bit better defense too is probably the one where you want to see Caleb go out there and perform most. Outside of that, though, the defensive side of the ball left me feeling like, okay, Dennis Allen's had this defense for 5 years. Mm-hmm. They looked remarkable out there today.
And
Courtney.
I think that this is what gives people like Ryan Poles confidence. I sat down and talked with him this week just about, there's this narrative outside of here that the Bears were struggling and they're not getting it. And one of the things that he kept bringing up was that, Dennis Allen's defense is giving them stuff that they don't see every single day. Remember what DJ Moore saying, every play looks different?
Yeah.
It kind of felt like that for Tua. And Tua is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL.
70% completion percentage guy.
And he threw 3 picks today.
Yep.
1 in the red zone, which was the Tremaine Edmonds pick, which he bobbled and then caught.
Yep.
What did Kevin Byard say? He gave fans some drama.
Like he bobbled it probably for 10 yards before he finally brought it in and took it the other way.
And then there was the Jaquan Brisker one, and Kevin Byard got one as well with a tip from
Nashawn Wright tip.
So I think it's showing you how opportunistic this the back 7 of the defense can be. And that's, this was a defense I thought that was predicated last year on takeaways.
Yeah.
Where was that? And like now it does feel like this defense is predicated on taking away the ball. But, the whole rush and cover plan, we're seeing it kind of come into fruition because you do have such an aggressive front that is going to blitz a lot to then allow the guys on the back end to do their jobs. And to see the Bears defense in those first 2 11-on-11 periods, especially that second one where Jalen Waddle got rocked by Tyreek Stevenson, like really felt like they set the tone today. This was the first day I'd say of training camp where I was like, I can, without a shadow of a doubt, say the Bears defense was the best unit on the field. Because there's been moments where it's like, okay, they won today, like they won this, but then there'd be times, where Caleb in the offense might finish a 2-minute drive. And all right, they
take advantage of it. Yeah.
Like you're not like, okay, they won nothing today. Like, but I will say that the Bears defense from start to finish, I couldn't find a weakness or a moment where it's like, man, they really got one by them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I thought that they frustrated the Miami Dolphins all day in the practice, even in the red zone period, right? They tried to run the football a couple of times. Tremaine Edmonds right in there. Like there were so many of the moments where you kind of just – it felt like they were controlling the practice, and that's a good thing for where this team is at right now because you may have an offense that's trying to hit the ground running, trying to figure it out, but they may not be there just yet. And so you need that defense to get you through some of those games early on. it felt that way kind of on both sides, though, that the defense was ahead of the offense in both ways, which I think is interesting, seeing as how Tua's been in this offense for what, 4 years now with Mike McDaniels, 5 years. So it was a very interesting practice on the offensive side. I thought on the defensive side, really good on both fronts. Let me ask you this. We saw a couple of injuries. I guess not injuries. They returned from injury. Sure. We saw Darnell Wright get back out there. I kind of could see him from our vantage point looking decent in the one-on-ones. We also saw Kyler Gordon doing some individual things. Any concern, any worry that they're going to have things pop up, or is it kind of like you're feeling good about where they're at?
Well, I'd imagine that Kyler Gordon won't be he will be one of those 9, I would imagine, just given where he was yesterday, leaving practice early and then not being out there today. I don't think it doesn't sound too concerning. I wonder with the offensive line, though, because you mentioned it at the top of the show, like Braxton Jones, Ozzie Trapillo, and Theo Benedette. Like even him getting some work today. That's their competition right now at left tackle. I do think it's interesting that they're not just like, all right, let's keep it to 2. Knowing Karan Amagaji's out, we haven't seen him now for about a week.
And he's looked behind when he's out there. He looks like he's the guy in third place.
I get it. Now. But then why did you bring another third place guy in there? You know what I mean? Isn't that kind of like, and you asked him today, like, are you getting, close to deciding? And he's like, we're not going to rush this thing. Clearly, it feels like they're holding true to that. I don't know if that's the right approach, just based on you've got 3 weeks left of this. You don't want to speed your way through it, but I also think this is the important time at camp where you should start to narrow that thing down. And maybe it really is narrowed down in theory. I mean, I don't think Theo Benedette has any real shot at it, but it's like Braxton Jones starts out with the ones today in 11 on 11. I think he got the first 2 11 on 11 series. And then for the first move the ball series, it was Ozzie Trapillo in there. The most curious I am is to see, I would assume the entire offensive line will play together behind with Tyson Bagent starting.
I would hope.
And then
kind of. But why would you? I mean, how do you get 9 starters sitting though?
DJ Moore.
There's only 11 people.
Caleb Williams.
Right.
Swift. Rome. Tight ends. 2 tight. Or you'd want your rookie to play.
I would say Cole.
Yeah.
And then the 4 offensive linemen, except the left tackle. Like that's what I mean.
If you're trying to figure out your left tackle spot for your starters, you'd want him with the rest of the starters.
I would think so. I'm just trying to. He said 9 on both sides, and I was sitting there trying to do math, and I was like, okay, who are the 2 people? That kind of get screwed and just say go out there and figure it out. It is going to be interesting to see that. I will say this: I looked at this practice today, and maybe Ben is looking at it in a different way. To me, I think the joint practices are more important than preseason games because of what you get, where you get your ones to go kind of all the way in. But I think you should utilize both of them. This one, though, felt very, what's the right word? It didn't feel as intense as the practice that we had on Tuesday. And I think because you could go out there and feel the energy on the sideline, like this is going to be a different practice. That's not what this felt like. Like the scrums and scuffles that we saw were basically nothing. Yeah. The one that was a real one was the 2 Miami Dolphins players fighting
each other. That was interesting. But I think there's also the emphasis. There wasn't as much live tackling today because it's like if you are doing that in camp against another team, that's where they probably, when Ben Johnson's talking about towing the line, that's probably where you'd go on the other side of it where you shouldn't go. But I don't know. I'm kind of with you on that. I think they set the tone intensity wise with the way that they were taking the ball away earlier. I think there were 4 total turnovers today is what that was Kevin Byard's count. I can count 3 interceptions. Maybe there was a fumble. There was a fumble. There was a fumbled snap. Yes, they're on the ground. Wasn't that the one where Billings got on it and then got dinged up on the play? Yes. Like that was as physical as it was going to get without it being like you're worried that dudes are going to come up from getting tackled and start, jawing with each other. I thought they towed the line just fine. Nobody got thrown out except for Tyreek Stevenson, just on that one thing because he reached into the guy. I think it was because he was trying to get like the guy to like unlock from him, but he reached into his face mask. But overall,
Need that Tom Waddle moment where what Waddle say? He said, if you stick your fingers in my face mask, I bite him. He said he would bite him. He was like, anything outside the face mask is yours. He's like, anything inside is mine. I'll bite you.
Honestly, it's a great rule of thumb. I think they got out of it what they needed to do today. And it seems that they came out of it relatively healthy.
Yeah.
And now it goes into Sunday's game. What are we going to see from Tyson Bagent? Is this the day where and I think we all believe that he is the backup on this team, but does he, if he gets the first half, let's say, of this game on Sunday,
which I believe Ben said he's supposed to. He's supposed to play through the half, I believe.
Like, what do you show here? You continue to show the solid, like the Bears have a solid backup at quarterback that doesn't need to be a position to worry about. I think you'll feel pretty confident if you're the coaching staff, if he can operate cleanly, if the pre-snap stuff goes away with him, and then you come back on Monday and it exists with Caleb, then you can see that, okay, maybe there is something here that we need to hone in on with 18 versus, the other units and all of that. I think you can actually probably find maybe some answers to things coming out of this preseason game with the backups mostly playing that are going to affect the starters in a way that'll help, clean up the operation.
Yeah, we'll see. That's one thing to look for. Of course, it's all about making the roster. That's why these preseason games are important. There's a lot of kind of fringe pieces here. Good. It'll be interesting to see, is Nashawn Wright number one DB? Does he count as a starter at this point? Because kind of like no JJ. JJ was out there though. We saw him standing. He wasn't doing much. He's just standing out there kind of. But no JJ. I would assume Tyreek maybe is one of the two guys that's playing. Are you going to have Tyreek and Nashawn Wright?
I feel like anywhere you have a position battle, those guys should be playing.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, again, it's about how which version of the defense you put out there, right? If you throw I would assume Tez is not playing. I would assume no Javon. I would assume no Grady. Is it a Dio Adangbo? Mm-hmm. That's the other guy that's playing because he is newer in the system. And he had a play today. Yeah. I mean, he would have killed.
Yeah, that sack was like, oh my God. Like, that was important because when can we say we've seen that from him in training camp? Maybe like one or two moments when, like, obviously he's going against the first team offense, and that was like did you see anything in the Tuesday practice where Odangbo like really stood out? Maybe one moment.
I saw one where
in the 4-minute mode.
He did get there in the 4-minute mode, but it was one of those like we've been doing with the last two quarterbacks. Like, yes, he's there. Yeah. Could he have gotten away? Caleb was kind of moving, and we know how elusive he is. So I don't think they blew it dead, but there was one where you kind of were like, that was one where it was like, oh, he would have like eviscerated Tua and we might have had some problems again. So very excited for this Sunday. I know it's only preseason, and by the time the fourth quarter gets here, we'll probably all hate ourselves. But there's football on the way, Bears football on the way. Make sure you're tuned in here. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. For Courtney Cronin, your boy Pat the Designer, back at it again. Let us know what you're excited about in the comments below for this upcoming preseason game. Who are you watching? Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bear down. One love. Peace.